Welcome back to Casual Bias Rugby. It's just myself and Aiden tonight. If my voice sounds a bit weird, that's part of the reason why I haven't been filming this week. So I apologize, guys. I've been sick. So Aiden will probably do majority of the talking. We couldn't get the other fan forum guys to join. Jake's actually on his way to, I almost said Portugal, Australia for the British and Irish Lions. Aiden, my man, how's your week been? How are you feeling after last week's performance? Are you looking forward to the final week for your boys?
Yeah, it's been a good week for me. I got a work trip coming up this week, so I've only got a half day tomorrow, then I'm off Friday and off Monday. So I'll be away playing golf for the weekend. I'll still be watching the rugby. Don't worry about that. But, after last week's performance, definitely in better spirits. We saw the fruits of some of the stuff Razor was trying to do, especially in the All Blacks camp. So that was really nice to see. He stuck with some things that people weren't pleased with in the first game against France. And we could see that they immediately, even after one game, had, stood up a level, particularly with the guys that were like debutants. Billy Proctor in the midfield, for example, had a much better game in Wellington, which was cool in his home crowd. I think positives, still a lot to work on, but I think positives overall. So I'm in a pretty good mood.
Yeah, and we'll get into the France versus All Blacks game in a second. Obviously, we'll cover the British and Irish Lions, then France, New Zealand, then South Africa versus Italy, and obviously leading up to the Georgia game, and then just finally we'll wrap up on England, Argentina, because obviously that has the effects on the world rankings. But if you fans just like us, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We promise the energy is usually a bit better than it might be tonight. Okay, it's just because some of us are in recovery. It's one of those things, right? But Aiden, we're building up to the first test this weekend between the British and Irish Lions and the Wallabies. And this past weekend, we had a game that was kind of hyped up a lot, and it didn't live up to expectation. The AUNZ team taking on the Lions. And I'm not taking anything away from the Lions. They were sensational. But you could feel that AUNZ team being so undercooked. It felt like watching the Barbarians just again. That was a good performance by the Lions as well. Like the AUNZ team had nothing.
I'm actually pretty frustrated with the whole situation because the concept I really like, the Anzac concept. I wish it was called the Anzac team rather than AUNZ Invitational. And obviously,
let's call it the Anzac team here because it's a bit easier to say that.
Yeah, it's also easier to say, right? But look, they hadn't done it since late 80s, early 90s. I'm not 100% sure on the previous date of when that team actually previously played. But the idea of bringing these two countries together, which have a lot in common, New Zealand and Australia, throughout history have been, closely intertwined. I thought it was a really cool idea. And to hear that they had, just a week together with guys playing all over the world. Pete Samu, he's been in France, hasn't he? He's just come back, and now he's getting chucked in the team. Guys from playing in Japan, playing not in Super Rugby and leagues around the world.
Even guys that it's just like on the fringes of the international teams, right? Like Hoskins to Tutu.
Exactly.
Those guys, yeah.
The players are good. The players in that team were good players. Like some of them are ex-international starters. The likes of Nani Laumape, Pete Samu was an international starter. But
David
Havili. It was so painful to watch. I watched that game, and I haven't been this frustrated as a neutral fan watching a game. I suppose I'm not neutral because I'm from New Zealand, but it still felt like being a neutral fan watching that team because they had no chemistry. If you've ever played like FIFA Team Builder, it's like building a team there and there's no links and you had zero chem. It was awful to watch. And the Lions were clinical. And so you had polar opposites going up against each other. The connections that the Lions had built over the past month and a bit, which you could really see in the game, versus the Anzac team where, there were balls being thrown to nobody, somewhere, and they were finding grass. It was terrible. And I just wish that they'd taken more time to build this team and, given them a couple of weeks to play together and train together, just so you have a more interesting contest. Because as you said, it added absolutely nothing to the Lions tour. They should have played Tonga, Fiji, Samoa.
Yeah, well, that obviously was massive for the Lions, right? I think the Lions needed one of those victories, especially if you look at the performance against the Brumbies and the Waratahs, where the cohesion wasn't necessarily there. They looked great in this game.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've got injury woes now, but I mean, if you're a team that consists of 4 countries, there's always someone else that you can pick up. I mean, you think about, let's say they have 10 injuries, roundabout, maybe a bit less, and only now they call up Darcy Graham. Just tells you the kind of depth that they have to pick from. Like Darcy Graham, in the same week that he gets a red card against Fiji. By the way, Fiji beating Scotland, massive for Fiji and rugby. I know it's a second string Scotland team. We won't look past that, but as a country, for Fiji, that is massive for them. Gets a red card. You think it's all doom and gloom. 2 days later, you get a call up, or a day later, you get a call up. Listen, you're joining us on the Lions tour. I mean, he would probably not even care about that red card or a suspension or anything like that. Well, it's not a suspension. It was 2 yellows, right? So that's great for him. But as I mentioned, massive for the Lions. Going into this Wallabies game, you need a victory like that as a confidence booster where it's like, okay, we struggled a bit against the franchise teams, but we saw it clicking. And yes, it is against a team that just got thrown together within a week. It just boosts morale in that team. And obviously, now it's going to be spicy for this weekend. Let's actually start talking about this weekend, because both of us, we shouldn't be doing this alone, actually, because both of us have got the Wallabies to actually take this series. Have you got it 3-0 for the Wallabies, by the way, or 2-1?
If a 2-1 is generous to the Wallabies, right? Like, it's not going to be 3-0. If the Wallabies win 3-0, no offense, Northern Hemisphere rugby is a joke. The Lions are a joke if the Wallabies win 3-0. It's not happening. This team, and I'm not going to disrespect the Lions by saying the Wallabies are going to win 3-0, because I think they'll be lucky to win 2-1. I can see it happening, but there'll be a bit of luck involved if the Wallabies can drag themselves across the line to win the series.
Yeah, I've got a 2-1 for the Wallabies, but I reckon the Lions take the first one. I think the Wallabies, they've got a couple of guys playing in the franchises. They haven't looked too good necessarily in that Fiji game. I mean, they really scraped over the line there. This was a massive win for the Lions. I'm gonna go with the Lions to take it this weekend, just because the Wallabies still need some cohesion. This is massive for the Wallabies. That's why it's more so. I'm not backing the Wallabies because I really think they're going to do it. I think it's going to be closer than expected. But I'm also we need a good Australian team, right? We've said it before with Wales as well. Rugby needs a good Welsh team. It's part of rugby heritage. And you look at the way that Joseph Swali'i spoke, is like, this could inspire the next generation. And that's kind of what's needed in Australia at the moment. You've seen them getting better over the past, let's say, 18 months, 12 to 18 months since Joe Schmidt's come in. But this is the time for them to peak. So that's why I have to back them. I'm sorry. As a Southerner, we have to back these boys, even though they are greatest rivals and those type of things. My question to you is, obviously, first, before I get into the question, thoughts on Jock getting called up, James O'Connor, massive.
He's probably all New Zealanders' favourite Australian rugby player at the moment. Even though he plays for the Crusaders, which most New Zealanders, other than people from Canterbury, dislike, he's such a nice bloke. Like, when he talks about rugby, he's obviously very well spoken. He's just real interesting, real like down to earth. But also, he's just a brilliant player.
He should have been called up from the start, to be honest.
Honestly, and the role he's fulfilled at the Crusaders, he's done to perfection. They realised early on that, look, they've got these 2 up-and-coming star 10s and Rivers, Reihana, and Taha Kamara at the Crusaders, and they want to bring some experience off the bench to settle the game down and get the job done when it's needed. And he did that almost every single game, including the real tight games against the Blues where he kicked the winning penalty. And look, not international rugby, I get that. Super Rugby is definitely not international rugby. But he's been there, done that. He's, I think, the only player in that team that will have been on the previous Lions tour when they lost. And he was in that team when they lost. So he'll have a bit of, a chip on his shoulder that he want to get that win back home. And I just think he's a brilliant player. And he's that bit of experience, especially in the back line, now that I think about it, that team needs. Because it's quite a young back line. You think someone like Andrew Callaway is probably their most experienced player in the back line now that
he's a perfect utility player, right? I mean, he started off his career at wing.
Yep.
when he was 17 years old. He can play on the wing. He's still got a bit of gas. He's got that experience, as you mentioned. He can play at fly off, can play at fullback probably, he can play at center. He gives you that option to really go for a 6-2 split if you need to, right?
Yeah.
Because we all know the upper hand that you get when you've got some physical dominance in the game. So he gives you that option as well. Or if you want to go 5-3 split, and you're thinking like, okay, Tom Liner is very inexperienced at fly off, and you want to go with Ben Donaldson on the bench because you don't want to necessarily play James O'Connor at fly off. You put both of them on the bench, right, with the scrum off, and then you go with your 5 forwards on the bench. He just opens up so much options for you to use, and I'm telling you now, is going to be vital if they want to get over the line. It kind of reminds me of the lost Mornay Steyn that we picked in the previous British and Irish Lions tour when they came here. We literally picked him for one game. He came into the game, kicked the winning kick. There you go, right?
Yeah.
But you need that experience, that little calm head, the ice cold guy from the tee. That's what James O'Connor brings, and he's been all over the world. If there's one guy that understands Southern and Northern Hemisphere rugby and can fit in like a glove, it's that guy. He is sensational.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned sort of versatility and the options that they have with him in the squad. Just in general, I think it's probably one of Australia's strengths at the moment, especially in their backline, is versatility of player. You've obviously got people like Jorgensen and Suaalii that plays centre and fullback. Jorgensen can play both wings and can play fullback. Callaway can play both wings and fullback. Filippo Dalgunu plays centre and wing. Ikitau can play both centre positions. And so you've actually got this team that is sort of like a jigsaw puzzle that's going to be pretty good no matter what way you put it. Obviously, you bring in guys that are like specialists, like your Tom Wright, who could probably play wing at a push, but he's definitely a fullback.
Yeah, but you need to get that balance where it's like you don't just want utility players. At some point, you have to say, this is their strongest place. We'll play them in their strongest position.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just more so it gives them more options to look at and playing some of the players with coming off the bench more so than anything else. I think the most interesting one for me is going to be Filippo Dalgunu because he's played most of the season for the Reds at centre and he's been brilliant. Like he's been one of their best players. But I don't see them not starting Suaalii and Ikitau on the centres. So I think they'll start him on the wing.
Even Paisami.
Yeah. So I think they'll start Dalgunu on the wing because you have to have him in the team. He plays very similarly to Tavatava Nawai from the Highlanders, who playing for the All Blacks now. Big, strong ball carrier, lethal at the breakdown, gets lots of turnovers, and actually has quite a good kicking game as well. So I really hope they do start him because I feel like he's super important. And then if you have, injury scares or whatnot, you can move him into the centres, and you've got guys like Jorgensen and whatnot playing on the wings who are electric.
Yeah. In my opinion, there's certain names on the team sheet that I feel is pretty fixed. And one of them has to be Dalgunu. And he would go onto the wing for me. Tom Wright at fullback. I know Suaalii has played well at fullback. But sexy boy Tom Wright has to be there at fullback. He's sensational. Len Ikitau, whether it's an inside centre or outside centre, has to be there. The same with the Lucy's. Rob Valentini, Fraser McWright, and then obviously Harry Wilson. Those are like fixed names on the team sheet with Angus Bell, your specialist guys in those positions, and then you can kind of mix and match the rest together. Let's move on to your game, France versus the All Blacks, and we spoke about this last week, which was we brought up the question where it was this the one of those games where France put up a fight, but it was only like for a one weekend fight, and it kind of gave me the same vibes as the Italy game, where it's like they're gonna come down, you give them a one-off game, they're gonna fight for that position and stuff. But as soon as the other team has a bit more of a sniff, they've gotten used to, they've got that one game together now, and they're playing again, then you're gonna ragdoll them. And it was a great performance by the All Blacks, right? Yeah. I'm not gonna knock France at all, just purely that All Blacks performance was very good. If you look at the big boys that actually stepped up, Bowden Barrett in that 10, he's looking good again. Cam Roygod running the show at 9. I mean, it is Fabian Holland. If you look at a guy that's putting up his name because of injuries, Fabian Holland, whoop, whoop. I'm here, baby. That's what he's doing. He's crazy.
He looks like he's played 30 tests. Like, he's so calm coming into the squad. First All Black squad, immediate debut, immediate repeat. Been excellent both games. Played 80 minutes both games, and it's been excellent. Going to your point, I think I actually called something pretty well for this game. I said, looking at the squads when they came out, the French obviously had a number of changes from their team in the first week. And I was looking at the squads and going, the back line for the French was definitely an upgrade. Some of the players, if you don't watch Top 14 or you don't watch French international rugby, fair enough. But guys like Barassi, Deporter, and Gaetan all are really pushing into the France 23 for their top team. Yeah. Obviously, Adesogbe is only being kept out by Peno and Bielbiere, so fair enough. And then Leo Barre is, in that second choice 15 spot, sort of fighting with Buros, obviously behind Ramos. So they're struggling to get starting spots there. But those guys are definitely a much stronger backline. But I said that forward pack was definitely not as strong name-wise as the team in the first week, and I think that's where we'll get the advantage. And that happened. The All Black forwards fronted for that first 40 minutes. It was utter domination, which was lovely to see.
You guys did brilliant in terms of not letting their backline really play their game. So you took away, like, you could see there was strengthening. They've got strength and depth in their backline, but you gave them no options with it. By the way, I just searched for Fabian Holland's stats, right? He's played 160 minutes, as you mentioned, 80 minutes both games, 31 tackles, and 100% tackle rate. It is ridiculous the way that this guy's playing at the moment. Ari Savea is unreal. Unreal. He's a freak. Like, I mean, just the two of those guys scare the shit out of me. Like, it is truly crazy, that performance. Like, in the end, all the credit that we gave to France, and that's why I said I'm not going to take away from them. Like, those guys it's not their strongest team necessarily, not their biggest names, but it's guys that are fighting for those positions. Like, it's still a strong French team. You put that French team up against any other strong team in the world, they'll front up very, very well, right? So obviously the chemistry isn't necessarily there because they haven't played together in the Six Nations and stuff, but it's not a team that's come together like the Anzac team that's been playing a week or anything like that. And that's all just credit to the performance by the New Zealanders. Like, the way that your forwards are fronting up at the moment, they'll probably front up to anyone, and it's big boys. And to think that you've got injuries there. There's no Tyrell Lomax. There's no Tamati Williams. There's no Asafo Moore. There's no Scott Barrett, right? Like, those are four immediate, no Satiti.
Yeah.
You see, that's the thing, right? Like, that is a rotated forward pack of yours, but it's all guys that are on the fringes hungry. You could see the hunger getting out of that game. It's kind of like they felt offended by their performance last week, even though their performance wasn't even that bad. It was just a French team that pitched up. But this weekend, just kind of blowing them out of the water. I was very impressed. I'm pretty sure you'll say 95% of you has happiness after watching that game.
Yeah, definitely happy. Look, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I don't want to get too on the other side of that and be real confident because, yes, it isn't the strongest France team. And, yes, they're still really good players, but, they're untested, they're uncapped, and that was their sort of first experience of international rugby, even though we had a few of the same. But, I'm very pleased, but I know it's not like we're there. I don't feel like we're at that level yet. But definitely improvements. Still things to work on. Our second 40, it was 14 all in the second half, which, obviously still won the game in the first half, but it's still things to improve on because other teams won't allow you that luxury of sort of slipping away in the second half. So I'd like to see improvements on that area. But overall, definitely an improvement. It's nice to see some of the New Zealand fans shut up for once and be happy because, God, they're so depressing sometimes, even though I love them.
Do you reckon you pull out a lot of rotation for the final game this weekend?
Yeah, I hope so because
Ruben Love has to get a little.
I want to see Ruben Love. I just hope they go, you know what, start him at 10. Just start him in the 10 jersey because we're not going to have Beauden Barrett forever. That guy is, I don't know if you saw, but he was questioned about how he likes playing with his brothers and stuff. And he broke down and he's like, because I don't know how much longer I can do this for. And it's like, oh, bro, he's hinting at retirement. Obviously, he signed till 2027, but Beauden Barrett, one of our greatest ever All Blacks, he's not going to be there forever. We can't just rely on him.
We'll probably end after 2027, yes.
Yeah, 100%. He's not going to be there forever. We need new 10s. D-Mac's there. We know what he can do. He's not an unknown anymore, you know. We know what he can do at 10. He has a lot of potential at 10. But I feel safe with having D-Mac there as well.
Maybe they're not trying out anyone else because they know Richie's coming back.
Yeah, maybe. But it's like, what if Bodie gets injured? God forbid, what if Bodie gets injured? You need another 10. And Ruben Love has been excellent this year. He stepped into 10 sort of halfway through the season, played better at 10 than he did at 15. And now he's in the All Blacks, and I just want to see him get that opportunity. And I'd rather see him start, deal with all the pressure immediately, and then sort of go, well, that's as hard as it gets. So now you know how it feels. Yep. Now we can bring you in off the bench in future games, you know? So I do hope to see him get some minutes. We shall see. Yeah. Who knows?
Even someone that I want to give a little bit of props to, even though he didn't have a standout game, but I thought it was a lot better than last week, was Rieko Ioane. In terms of the way last week he kind of drifted to the middle a lot of the time, right? But he was a lot more selective with it this past weekend. Like he had a couple of bursting runs in the middle and stuff. Obviously, part of setting up the try for who scored the try? Hey,
Tupovai.
For Tupovai. Obviously, he got over the gain line, gave it to Fabian Holland, who then got it away. Those type of things, right? He was very good in terms of we know he's a sensational winger and stuff. But obviously, if you've played for years at outside centre, at club and international level, like obviously that instinct of being a 13 will pop in. But you love seeing a wing get involved, but they can't get involved the whole time. Otherwise, it's just plain and obvious.
Yeah.
Stretched the defense, then came in, was selective about it. And I was thoroughly impressed by Rieko Ioane's performance overall. And then Tupovai, right? We mentioned Adi Savea and Fabian Holland, that scares me. Tupovai just kind of slipped my mind. Sensational. Wow.
Yeah. People were like, can he play 6? Yeah. He can play 6.
Looks like it.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Well, 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't have said that, right? Because he stank it out a bit at 6. And then obviously, because you know he's a lock. But the past 2 weekends, it's just like, well, fucking hell, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's been very good for a while now. He was sensational for the Chiefs as well.
Yeah, he's pushing proper world-class level player at the moment. And a lot of people have said, I've heard people say he's sort of like our mini Peter Steff at the moment, the way he's been moved from lock to 6, and he's getting super involved. He's probably a bit more rangy on attack, although Peter Steff has been getting much more involved in attack with Tony Brown coming in. But that sort of rangy 6 that can sort of move around. He can still hit the breakdowns, which is impressive. I thought that might be an area he might struggle with moving from lock to Lucy, but he's been really good there, got a couple of turnovers. And he's just a big body. You know, he can just get those few extra meters in the tackle and set up a platform for an attack with our backline. So, mate, I love it. And I love having that option, even if he doesn't always play there.
Yeah. Just the final thing this weekend, do you reckon it's a good victory? Let's say you guys rotate a bit. Do you reckon it's a good victory, or do you reckon France front up for kind of the final clash?
Yeah, I think it'll be closer than that game. I don't think. Yeah, I think we'll have a performance. If we do put out a slightly more rotated team, it may bring up some extra, not quite gelling sort of situation. I do think we'll win. I think we do have sort of a sneaky amount of depth at the moment, which I'm really pleased with. So giving these players a chance, I think they will prove it. But if I was to predict a win with a rotated squad, different if we have the same squad, a rotated squad win, I'd say, 10 points, 10, 12 points. If we put the same team out as we did last week, then maybe 30 points. But I just don't see the point in putting the same team out now that we know what they can do.
If I had to pick the All Blacks team for just this weekend, I would kind of keep the structure the same and then just have like small rotations in it. So let's say injury cover rotation. So maybe do Rieko Ioane on the wing, Will Jordan on the other wing, and then maybe have the likes of a Ruben Love at fullback if you wanted to. Kind of like a pairing like that. Or you'd go Will Jordan at fullback still, Tavatava Nawai on the other wing with Rieko Ioane instead of Narawa. And then you have Ruben Love at 10. And I'd still keep with Jordy Barrett and Billy Proctor, maybe have a Quintupai on the bench where you can take off Geordie Barrett and then try Quintupai again at
I think for me they have to go one of two routes. For the back line anyway, you either change the core of the back line, so you either change 9, 10 in the centres and then leave the outside backs the same, or you change the outside backs and leave the core similar. Because you've got to have some form of consistency. Otherwise, you're just putting out a completely different team, right? Like, I want to see changes, but I don't want 15 guys that haven't played yet playing at the same time.
Would you rather start the rotation or bring them off the bench?
I think I want to see starting in key areas like 10. I would like to see Ruben Love start at 10. I wouldn't mind seeing Noah Hotham start at 9.
Yeah.
But the only issue is where I see them not doing that is it's in Hamilton and Cortez Rasma plays for the Chiefs. So I can kind of see Cortez Rasma starting, in which case Hotham off the bench because I think Hotham.
And then you're going into the Rugby Championship with no Hotham minutes at all.
Yeah, so I hope they give Hotham a good amount of game time, maybe 40-40 with Ratama. Rest Roygaard because he's clearly the best halfback in New Zealand. We've established this. He's proven he can do it for 60, 70, 80 minutes. We know that. Bank it. Save him for the Rugby Championship. Same with Bodie. We know what he can do now. Again, in the black jersey. Bank him. And then put some of these new guys in those positions. Give them the minutes. Give them the experience in a game that, while it helps us for world ranking points, which we care about a lot in New Zealand, every game's important for us. And these games against France are ideal because it's not their strongest team and they're still high in the ranking points. So we get a few of them for beating them.
They're obviously third, so it does you a fair bit, right? So anyway, that's it for New Zealand, France. South Africa, Italy, obviously it's kind of a blowout victory with our rotated team, 45 points to 0.
Yep.
It's this discussion, right, that we can have around do the first teamers feel their spot is secured because the B team, I wouldn't even say B team, right? Because we don't really use A and B team. But the B team, if you had to say it, just whacked the team that we kind of struggled against in the first game. Like Italy won the second half of the first game. A bunch of guys really put up their hands. Edwolf and Amarva, another one of the Scrum Cap Mafia gang. Dude, he is unreal. He is absolutely unreal. Mani Lubbock, right? I got so much shit for talking about Mani Lubbock last weekend because the South Africans had this thing, right? And I'm not talking down on all South Africans, right? What it was like, Mani Lubbock's kicking was bad, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was bad. But then everyone wanted to say how he's a bad player because of his bad kicking. And we spoke about this before, right? Where it's like, instead of just getting another kicker, we just said, okay, this guy's bad. He shouldn't be playing. Where Bodie, when he was having his laps in kicking, they just got someone else to kick. But for some reason, we just jumped onto the Mani hate train. And I was like calling for this guy. No one's going to run your back line like Mani Lubbock runs your back line. He is so secure in that 10 jersey. Now everyone's loving Mani because he's kicking well again. He changed his kicking technique and he's playing some sensational rugby. And now everyone wants to love him again. It's this weird hate-love thing that we've got in South Africa where we just like bite onto one thing. But he's playing sensational rugby. Peter Steff, obviously brilliant to see him once again. He was great. Jasper Wiese comes back and does what he always does, gets a suspension. There you go. Lovely little headbutt.
That was dumb.
I've got a question to you, right? Because obviously this was a massive talking point throughout the week. What did you think about the antics that the Springboks pulled in terms of getting a scrum right off the kickoff, the line out from the breakdown, those type of things? And you can be open and honest because I'll also be open and honest about it. Don't give me political answers.
When I first saw it, I'm like, that's funny. I don't really care because, in my honest opinion, I think if they do that against a proper tier 1 team, it's going to backfire. You're going to put up if they did that against France, Ireland, New Zealand, and of the first kickoff of the game, set a scrum, and you've given us possession on the 50-meter line. Yes, please. What are you on about? You're telling me I get to set up a scrum with one of the best backlines in the world for free off of the kickoff. Brilliant. We're not going to lose the first scrum to a penalty. And in that instance, they gave away a free kick. So what could have been really cool.
Lost a couple of aura points right there on the spot.
Yeah, it was just like, like I get it. It's innovative, and I like seeing the innovation. I think there is a line between innovation and gimmicky. The line out pass thing, more innovation. The kickoff thing, more gimmicky. And I think the line out one's weird because I don't know where the line is drawn between setting up a maul, which is what it's trying to achieve, right? And then get a penalty for illegal sacking versus jumping into a tackle. Because it's very close to just being jumping into a tackle, which is a penalizable offense.
Yeah.
So, because we've seen mauls been set up in midfield before. You know, one person grabs it, they turn around, and then they get their team making a scrum behind them, effectively creating a maul. That's not new, but obviously the lifting tactic is new, and I don't know how I feel about that one because I don't quite get it.
I don't like it, and I'm sure some South Africans would be surprised the fact that I say I don't like it, but I'm just looking at it from the game's perspective. The kickoff from the kick, the scrum from the kick off, no problem, whatever, right? If we want to do that, if we trust the scrum that much, and you want to get like your alpha male out there, sure. I don't mind it, and people that say it's a penalty, apparently in the rule book, you can be in front of the kicker with the kickoff, but it's just going to be a scrum, right? Thing with the line-out one, I'm not a fan of it because at some point, if you're going to allow that, it's going to get abused. Let's say if we play against the All Blacks, right? And we have to take this as South Africans. Let's say you're 5 meters out. You do that, it's a maul, sack penalty, whatever, right? What's stopping you from doing the exact same thing again? Right? Like 4 or 5 breakdowns in a row. Yeah. And it's just like, well, at some point we're not going to have enough guys to actually defend them all. So that's kind of where I'm just a bit against it. Like, obviously it's great to see innovation, right? Like it's fun. I watch it. I'm like, holy fuck, that's so cool. Whatever. But then I'm like, well, imagine if the other team does that 4 or 5 times in a row. They learn how to structure it and do it 4 or 5 times in a row. It's crazy, right? That would just take away from the spectacle a bit, in my opinion. And I reckon that World Rugby is they'll quickly make some changes to say you can't do that.
I just think it's that, as I said, it's that line between innovation and gimmicky, and I don't mind pushing that line and trying new things, and I think it is cool to see people push that border. And the only way you find out if it is gimmicky is by trying it, right? And seeing if it works, if it has a realistic place in rugby. I do think World Rugby will be like jumping into the tackle. That's how I think they're going to view it. I think they'll get rid of it by saying, if you do that, you can't lift someone in to create a maul because you're jumping into a tackle. So I do think that will disappear. But
it also gives the other team no option of getting the ball. If you pass it like 2 people high, and other guys in the air, what are they going to compete to that, right? It's like a skew line-up throw-in. It's crazy. Just my opinion on it, though.
And it's so hard to enforce maul laws in open play. Like, obviously, from a line-out, you can't have the lifters end up in front of the player because it's obstruction. But it's very hard to enforce that from open play because the ball's coming from in front of them. Because unlike a line-out where it's straight on, they have to pass it backwards and up. And so you're going to get players in front all the time. And so you're just going to get all these obstruction penalties or refs being like, is that obstruction? Is that okay? And it just creates this weird little discourse, I think, in the flow of the game. So interesting. I think it'll disappear.
Yeah. And now, obviously, after we battered Italy this weekend, it was the same story as we said with the France team, where it's like they fronted up for one weekend. I don't want to say, like, I know I said earlier it's complacency from the A team, but it's also an Italian team that fronted up a bit more. But I liked seeing the hunger from the younger guys. But you could just feel like they just weren't at the races. Their physicality wasn't there that there was in the first game. And there was hunger from the younger guys that just shone through. And now we have to take on Georgia. Obviously, the squad has been announced. Very powerful squad to take on Georgia, who just lost to the Free State Cheetahs, who doesn't even play in the URC. What do we think about that one?
Well, always good. I don't care what anyone says. Playing tier 2 teams is always going to be a good thing, even if they get absolutely battered. I don't think
Like
the players
106-7.
I don't
Ireland
think the
versus
players.
Portugal.
Okay, put it this way: if you were
Did I say
playing,
Portugal or Georgia? We're playing against Georgia this weekend, by the way. My apologies.
you're playing Georgia, not Portugal, yeah. But obviously, Portugal lost by 100 points. But if
Yeah.
you're in these teams that realistically only get to play some of these big teams in World Cups and pool play, who cares if you get absolutely bad? You guys get to go up against the best in the world. Like, you're going up against double world champs. Even if I got absolutely melted in a game, I'd love to play the best team in the world. So I think it's fine. I think it's always going to grow the game. They will get better from it. They will learn from it because they can watch it back and go, why are they so much better than us right now? Here, we can watch this video, see what they did here. We weren't ready for this, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Having Portugal play against, let's say, Uruguay and Spain and stuff is obviously great for those countries, but it's not going to necessarily grow the game in that country. Where if they know they're playing against the world champs, it's different. It's the same as like football in South Africa. Now, football is still the probably the biggest sport in South Africa, not the most popular sport, but it's the biggest sport, football in terms of soccer. But then I don't really watch Bafana, which is the South African national team, but I'll be playing against France. Watch that game. We got beat 5-7-0 or something like that. But it's just it's a spectacle for us to watch because we never get to do that. Right. So that gets eyes on the sport. That obviously generates a lot of young boys' attention or young girls' attention to say, okay, well, we actually want to go and play against the world champions and look where we came from, and we can be part of that generation that kind of grew the sport in the country and become the country's heroes and those type of things. So I have no problem with it. It's obviously not great to see them getting smashed like this, but it's kind of the expectation, right?
Yeah.
Just the final little talking point that wraps it up for South Africa versus Georgia. England has gone back to back. We didn't get our Argentina with one off week, one on week. They've lost twice in a row, which means kind of England has secured their spot in the top 5, booting Argentina out. I think Argentina is on 7th or 8th after those 2 losses.
Aussie jumped up to 6.
Yeah.
Without playing.
Yeah. I mean, it's good for them, right? Because they're not getting any ranking points, even if they beat 4 teams that's ranked above them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm still. We think overall that Australia should get a top pool seed because they're the host nation. We're not 100% sure on that.
No, I think it's now that I think about it, I think it might just be they are secured in the World Cup, kind of like for America. You don't get a top.
I'm trying to think of the pools for 2019. Who was in Japan's pool? Argentina,
Ireland. I think Ireland were there as well because they beat Ireland and Argentina.
I think, and then 2 other teams. Yeah, I'm not sure, but obviously, if they don't get an automatic top seed, then obviously they've moved into 6th. Super important. England moving up there. I mean, we've sort of been saying for a while now they're going to be sort of a dark horse come 2027. They're building better than most of the teams in the Lions sector. I'm not going to.
I don't even think they'll be a dark horse. I think they'll be good.
But when we made the statement, they're dark horses.
They're now a dark horse for it.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously, like France will be France. France will be a top 4 team in the Rugby World Cup. I can guarantee that. I think almost that's how good they're developing. England will be up there. South Africa will be up there. New Zealand will be up there. I think Ireland will be up there. I don't know how well that team's going to keep going over the next year, 2 years with their slightly older squad, but we shall see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this sort of pans out over the year. Obviously, we've still got Rugby Championship to come as well. That can affect both Argentina and Australia for their pool spots. So,
those clashes are going to be massive. Those 2 games between those 2 teams. Are both of them in Australia this year?
Yes, because no, they were both in Australia last year, so they'll be both. No, but
Argentina, they were both in Argentina last year.
Who's doing the
but
one?
They always switch around. We've got both your games.
We're Argentina away, both games.
I think they split it 1-1 actually. Now that I think about it,
yeah, I think they must split it 1-1 because we split 1-1 with a Oh, I don't know. I can't. Goodness, I've
Let me,
forgotten.
let me actually check that. Wow.
Argentina,
That's just,
Australia is in Sydney, and then it's in Queensland. They're both in Australia.
yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
massive. Australia need to take both of those.
Yeah, this will be a stepping stone year for Australia. This could be a huge boost for them with the Lions that could really lead into the revival of Australian rugby. Massive amounts of income coming in this year for Australian rugby. If they can beat the Lions and obviously, as Joseph Stewart-Aliti has been talking about, inspire that next generation, this could set them up massively. Then you include the World Cup, get a good performance there. Rugby Australia could be back to what it used to be, or at least close to what it used to be.
Yeah, well, and aren't they doing the Grand Slam at the end of the year?
No, we're doing the Grand Slam at the end of the year.
Did they do it last year?
I'm not sure. I think it's once every 3 years they do it. One of our teams does the Grand Slam, or every 4 years, something like that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that wraps it up. Aidan, thanks for joining. Everyone, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Go to Rugby Ramblings on TikTok. Show him some love there as well. He's always on live with these games. I'm sure you'll probably be live for the Lions and for the New Zealand game, right?
I can't this week. Obviously, I'm on a golf trip for work, so I'll be watching, but won't be able to be live, unfortunately.
You might be live, but it's going to be him playing golf. So
yeah.
Tune in. Everyone, thanks for joining. Thank you for always supporting us. We do appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time. Ciao.
Bye-bye.